What is up, everybody? It is Dr. Vibe here, host and producer of the award-winning Dr. Vibe show. This is the home of epic conversations. And as always, I'd like to say you're blessed, highly favored, a magnet for miracles, and a solution for someone's problem. I'm also a certified empowerment coach and owner and CEO of Express Your Vibe Coaching Communications. Very happy to do this conversation. It's now becoming part of a series. Last week at this time, I hosted a conversation called "What Do Blacks Want and Why?" And one of the questions I asked in the conversation is, what for the people who are Black in the conversation, what things do they feel are important? What came to their mind first in regards to what's important for Blacks? And one of the things that came out was housing. So I said, okay, we've got a conversation going. So we have a number of conversation topics coming up over the next little while. So I thought we'd kick it off with housing. So as always, I'd like to shout out everyone who is here. Leon from across the water in England. Sandra, always a pleasure. Junior, thank you so much. Also, Dan, thank you so much also. And well, there was someone on Floyd 0012, but he jumped out. I guess a picture of Donald Trump didn't make him suffice. So we're going to leave it at that. So we're going to chat about housing and Blacks. And I live in Toronto, and people don't think that Toronto's immune from gentrification. Just a short little story here. There is an area downtown Toronto called Regent Park. Pardon me, lower income area. Hey, Isabel, what is up? And over the last few years, the residents there have been moved to other areas. And if you saw this area now to what it was a few years ago, totally different, but I don't know if the same inhabitants are there. But we're going to talk about that tonight. And how important do you as viewers of color and not of color feel this area of housing is, and what can we do or propose as solutions? Especially in the United States, it's an election year, but also all around the world. This is a global conversation. So it's a blessing and honor to have Ahmed Hazel here, because this is his wheelhouse. This is what he deals with in regards to housing, and he's going to introduce himself and then share what he does, and then we'll get into real good, serious conversation tonight about this. Please, as always, there are seats open. There are comments on the side. Leon is helping me over in England in regards to that. So, Ahmed, welcome to the conversation. How you doing?
Thanks for having me, Dr. Vibe. It's a pleasure to be a part of this conversation, and I look forward to sharing whatever I can.
Excellent. It's always a pleasure to have you on any conversation that I'm doing. Can you give a little background about yourself and why I am glad that you're part of this conversation?
Yes. So many years ago, I got into real estate, the buying and selling of real estate. Quickly moved into what we call non-performing notes when we had the 2008 meltdown here in this country, where the bank started looking to liquidate its stressed assets. So, and pretty much just a little bit of background. What that means is someone has a defaulted mortgage, meaning a mortgage that they're not paying for. The bank looks to recoup its investment by selling that mortgage to someone like myself, a private company. We decided to start an investment fund because we were doing so many deals, probably more than 7,000 or 8,000 deals we've done, and that's us personally. We created a fund to invite passive investors to put up capital so that we can buy these deals in large portfolios. So on a regular, I deal with hundreds of homeowners all across the United States of all different ethnicities. And we look to help them get back on track once we purchase their mortgage, help them get on track and get them to understanding the value of what we call the American dream, which is owning your own home and being safe and secure.
This is really good. Now, I want to get into this really deep tonight because it's very important. So I'm going to just have conversation with you. People, please jump in if you have any questions for Ahmed or just situations or your thoughts. Ahmed, out of your people you deal with in regards to this, what percentage of them are Black?
Probably 80%.
Has it always been that way?
No, I've seen shifts in the market. I've seen the market go from high-end affluent whites needing our help to Asians, Hispanics. I've seen the whole spectrum of homeowners go through troubles.
So 80% now, it's interesting. Leon said, wow. Now, has that been on purpose, or what factors have made that change? Because has it ever been that high during the time you've been doing this?
I think the shift came initially, the banks were looking to just recoup money. So they were liquidating all of the inventory. I think now the banks are selective about what inventory they decide to pass off to an investor like myself.
All right, so I'm going to jump to the other end of the spectrum. Then that your market is 80% Black, but when it comes to home ownership, is it still a big challenge, in your opinion, for many people of color?
To own?
Yes.
Definitely. It's one, the banks have tightened their grip on lending. And from what I have seen, in my experience, we are the least likely to get qualified for loans.
Okay, we're the least qualified. Now, why is that? Is part of it the way that the banks do what they do, and it's also maybe a lack of education on Blacks in regards to what it takes to qualify for these homes, houses, etc.?
If you, I'm here on Dr. Vibe's platform, and I wouldn't be anything but honest. So if you want my opinion, then it's racism.
Why do you say that?
Well, there are people that the bank will, there's a margin where the lender has a margin. So the lender can say, yes, this person qualifies, but we just don't feel that it's in the bank's best interest to grant this loan. Now, they may come up with all types of criteria that the person may not fit. But understand that when I purchase a loan, that the bank turns over to me everything that the person provided when the person was getting the loan. So the tax returns, the W-2s, Social Security card, copies of driver's license, the bank turns everything over to me because I am now a lender and I have a vested financial interest in the mortgage. I am allowed to pull credit reports on that specific individual, which then means I can go back and look at the person's history and see that when they got the loan, what their credit scores were, what their track record was, where they were working, and all of that. So after doing this for so long, 10 years, almost to the day, after doing this for so long, you get to recognize certain patterns. And I can see that, wait a minute, this person had this person was putting down more money. This person was putting down, they had a better credit score. They had a better job, but the bank disqualified them or gave them a higher interest rate. For what reason? So I can go back and look and see that there's some patterns that are happening in these situations.
Well, I just want to welcome some other people to the conversation tonight. Long time no see. We're at FOSO Social. Good to see you. Regulars, and always welcome regulars at Seawheel Builder. And last night having a streaming voice, had not seen him out for a while last night in our managed conversation. He's back tonight, and haven't seen at Gracie 2 for a while. So thanks everyone for stopping by. Again, if you have any experiences about home ownership or buying a home, or come across any of some of the situations that Ahmed has described, we'd love to have you come and share on the platform, because it's a very important subject, because home ownership is probably for many people the biggest financial decision they're ever going to make. And it's interesting because from what I understand in the marketplace in the US, it's nothing compared to Canada. And I'll just give you a very interesting example. In the Greater Toronto area where I live, the average price for a bungalow now is $1 million. So if it's a challenge down in the United States for people of color to buy a home, you come up here and you see it's even more of a challenge. So this is, again, not just a United States thing. There's some basic principles that I hope I'm speaking that we'll be able to discuss and equip with people who are either watching this live or watching it on replay, because home ownership for some people is a very important thing. We won't even talk about the younger people. Well, see, there's Leon saying it's £400,000 for a 1-bedroom in the UK. So if you convert that, that's probably almost $800,000 in the UK. Let me ask, and let's go a little bit further back. For you, Ahmed, why did you get involved in this?
I was in the housing sector, and the truth was money. You know, let's jump in real estate. I've heard about so many people, rich people say get into real estate for, to make money. So I got in originally to make money. Once I started having to interview homeowners on the housing side, I started hearing the stories that people had to go through as to why their income was affected, or why they could no longer pay their bills. I mean, we're talking divorces, we're talking loss of children, loss of job, everything. And my heart went out to them, emotionally. Hearing these stories every single day began to take its effect on me. I had no way of discharging that emotion that I felt from so many people. So we started to actually look for an alternate means of staying in the real estate business, but not being so directly affected by the emotional issues that so many homeowners were having. So we switched over to actually buying the mortgage, looking at it from a financing perspective. Those homeowners that were facing financial troubles was looking for the opportunity to have the bank do a workout for them, and the banks just were unreasonable in doing workouts. So we figured if we could somehow become the proverbial bank how could we perform workouts for the homeowners and help them where the banks wouldn't help them.
And I really appreciate when the audience either comes on via video or puts great commentary or great thought process on the side. Dan Kohlenberg says, and I hope I pronounced your name right, Dan. If I didn't, my apologies. Part of the problem is reaching the point of qualification. Young minorities are limited from the start. Lack of access to services being one of the highest problems. What do you have to say to that, Ahmed? Is he right?
I think when he starts off saying part of the problem, I think that it is part of the problem. I think that, we're not aware of different programs that help people. We're not kept in the loop on programs that can help either get you qualified or once you're in trouble, help you get out of trouble. So those resources just aren't shared freely with minorities.
Excellent. And I just was looking up online here. Very interesting statistics. There was a Harvard University study done in 2014. And basically it says some main points. And this is for America. Home ownership rates have fallen 6 percentage points among Black households, double that among white households. In 2011, 2012, Black applications for conventional mortgages were denied 40% of the time. Among Hispanics, the denial rate was 25%, nearly 2 to 3 times that of whites. And more than 25% of mortgage homeowners in both high poverty and minority neighborhoods were underwater, owing more than the homes are now worth in 2013. This rate is nearly twice the shares in either white or low poverty neighborhoods. So when you hear those stats from that survey, Ahmed, what is your thoughts?
I say, from just my experience, they sound spot on. And, I know that so when we are looking at a particular deal, we have to do historical research on that deal, sometimes all the way back to when the property was actually built. Now, if we're looking at an inner city home and we have to go back property records to the 1920s, then I can see all of the times that that property changed hands and for how much money. And I can compare that historical data to the data of a property in an affluent neighborhood. And I can tell you that there are times that I'm looking at the data of a home in an urban minority area that the home is selling for, let's say, $100,000. And then I look at the same time the prices of a home selling in an affluent area for $100,000. That the house in the urban area could be a 2-bedroom, 1-bath, 900 square feet, where the house in the affluent area is 5 bathrooms, 2.5 baths, 4,500 square feet. But the prices are the same at the same time.
So I want to go back to, you feel that the banks, and correct me if I'm wrong, are being racist or conducting non-legitimate or preferential policies. Hey, Xanadu, how are they allowed to do this? Aren't they regulated?
They are regulated, Dr. Vibe, but let's look at how regulated they are. Let's look at the fact that back in 2005 until 2008, they were issuing loans, a lot of them to minorities, at 110%, sometimes 120% of the value. And they knew that these people were not qualified to get these homes. So you had mortgage lenders pre-qualifying these people to get loans. And then the mortgage lenders were selling those loans to the banks for the full amount. The banks were bundling them together and selling them as bonds to their investors. That's criminal, Dr. Vibe.
I know it is. Big time. I want to circle further back. What impact at that time and now even residual did the mortgage crisis have on Black Americans in your view? And have Black Americans recovered from that crisis where they can become homeowners again or for the first time?
That's a great question. Here's why I think it's a great question. Because going back to the predatory lending, when that person could not make the payments on the properties because the lender issued something called an adjustable rate rider. So that is an agreement to say, we will let you come in and we'll allow you to make $300 payments a month because you can afford that right now. But you're going to have to refinance in 2 years when this adjustable rate kicks in, because the mortgage is going to go to market value. So now when a rate rider kicks in, the person's mortgage payment goes from $300 a month to $3,000 a month. Now, when the person can't make that payment for however long, that person's credit becomes affected behind that. So now you have so many people with credit issues that have not been able to recover because they may have had not just one property, but the mortgage originator may have given them loans on 2 or 3 properties. And they may and they may be in default on all 3 of them still to this day.
Wow. So it just makes me feel that you look. There's definitely so Dan has a good question. So who is the bad guy?
The bad guys are the bankers. The bad guys are the rich and the rich men that knew that these were mortgages outside of the scope of the parameters of lending, and they lent anyway because they could sell those mortgages packaged together as a bond to investors because they knew in a few years those mortgages were going to bust anyway.
Dan, appreciate your takes and questions. They're quite informative and quite important that everyone knows this. Again, I encourage anyone who wants to jump in, their personal experience or their thoughts about the importance of housing for Blacks. It's important that, and has the situation got better for Black America post mortgage crisis?
No.
In your opinion?
No. It's worse because so this is what I see on a regular basis. So someone loses their home and or let's say the mortgage is in default. So the bank sells the mortgage to me. So I say to the homeowner, okay, you have a mortgage. We have to get you back on track. We're not looking at credit or anything like that. We're looking to help you get back on track. We need you to start making your payments or some type of payments. We're willing to work with you. Well, the individual, depending, may not be able to get back on track. They may not be able to, as low as our qualifications may be, they may not even be able to meet our qualifications. So from that, the person now has to deed that property back over to us and then become a renter.
Then, okay, so we're gonna delve deeper in this, and Leon has a conversation piece here. Could blacks not put some blame on themselves for not researching or getting the correct advice?
I think that that's a really great question. I think that we can be quick to blame ourselves, and I'm not saying that, of course, in any business situation, the both parties are responsible for doing proper research. And I believe in any business situation, both parties are responsible for having the proper discipline to engage in business. But none of these homeowners really understood or knew what the rates were going to be in 2 years that would take their mortgage from $300 a month to $3,000 a month, because that wasn't in the rider. That wasn't spelled out in the rider. It's just whatever the market conditions are at the time, that's what you'll pay.
Letting to good. See, Will's coming on, and I'll let him come on, and then I'll just get the conversation piece by Xanadu. And Junior's coming. Oh, we're getting good now. Some of the cores come of the core. Hey, see, Will, what is up?
Hey, how's it going, Dr. Vibe?
Did you ever get off that blab last night with
That's good.
That's good. Yeah, we were on air almost till like 2 o'clock, so it was good though.
Oh yeah, I was catching some of it, and also Junior. All right, how we doing, Junior?
Everything blessed, Doc. Everything blessed. Big up. Good night. Good night to everybody. A man dropping some knowledge in the building. See Will, I know he gonna do his thing. Take over. Controller.
Respect it.
So, gentlemen, so again, thanks for taking the time to jump on. And I'll also give a comment by Xanadu before I let you gentlemen jump in. Xanadu saying, one could argue that we could, but the reality is most of us here don't have the access to the education that would even suggest that. Common sense is not so common. So, see, Will, gentlemen, I'm just steering the ship now because I got the 3 drivers, so make it happen.
Yeah, I did want to jump on that real quick because I feel that a lot of us. How about now? All right. So I think a lot of the first-time home buyers had a lot of misplaced trust, right? Because I know when I go to a bank and I'm thinking about a loan, you know, it's like a big deal, right? You kind of you get your hair cut, you shave, you put on your best clothes. It's like you're going to talk to the pastor or something, right? It's like, hey, I'm a good person, I'm doing good, you know, and it's like an interview. You put your best foot forward, and you kind of look up to the banker, right? You kind of trust that they're going to have your best interest, you know, and they probably talk that way in these situations. They're like, yeah, you know, we really want to get you in the home. We have this great plan for you, etc. And I don't think that the bankers actually did their clients justice, because bankers are trained to know what their clients can afford, right? They look at your financials, they look at how much your bills are, you know, and before they give you a loan, they know whether you can afford to pay that loan back according to your current income and your current expenses. That's what they're trained to do. Now, these bankers, they knew what their client could afford, and that's what they put them in the beginning. And then they set up this thing in the back end that's going to either a balloon payment or, like Ahmed said, the market rate switch up or whatever. It's a bait and switch, basically. So basically, they were hustling their clients. You know, they were pulling one over on them, and playing on their trust. You know, that's the way I see it. You know, but now everyone has learned, right? So now we're like, okay, just because this guy has a suit on and works in the bank doesn't mean he's not you know, he may not be trying to swindle me. So now I gotta do my due diligence as well.
Okay, I just, before Junior jumps on there, Dan makes another good point, saying that the only place we get that education from is our parents. The schools don't teach personal finance.
I agree with Dan. I agree that we get that information from our parents. And I think a lot of times, and I'm not making excuses, but I think a lot of times with minorities, because we don't have people in high power positions that can leak information down to our parents that could then share that information with their children. I mean, disproportionately, we are kept out of the loop. We're kept out of the loop on a lot of inside information. And I see it all the time in the space that I'm in. Out of the entire United States, there are 3 minorities, Black Americans, that hold significant positions in this space. And you're looking at one of them. Junior, come on in.
Listen, man, I don't know about y'all, but when he said you're looking at one of them, the ground kind of shook a little bit. You know what I'm saying? Hey, listen, I love when I come on this show and they got people that has done so much, making so much moves, man. The power that you that you bring on, the magnet. Anyway, let's go on. Man, I want to say what Black people want again. I'm gonna bring it back to what I mentioned last week. Truth. And of course, education, right? Listen, teach me about the damn loans. How is it that I went through military life, college, all these different things, and then find out that, you know, this loan and this interest rate, what is the fix and how this changes and all these different things. How the heck could I make it so long on earth and not know that? Okay, we're gonna come back to that then. Why haven't I learned about buying land or the power that land has? Not just the house itself, but, you know, a lot of times people say, push and buy a house, but there's so much equity in just owning a piece of land, which might be a percentage of what that house actually is. We're going to come back to that again. Now, having a piece of land, right? Imagine what you could put on that land. I'm seeing people taking shipping trailers, these cargo units, and turning those into houses, some really nice houses, or even the fabricated houses. A lot of times, you know, I'm driving around Atlanta and I'm looking at houses and they're like 300,000 and so forth for this house. But you're looking at these fabricated houses or these cargo trailers, and you put 3 or 4 of them together, and you're talking about a really nice spot. I'm not talking about like the double wide trailer, the regular trailer. I'm talking about just the cargo shipping trailers, you know. And then if you think about, and you know, no offense, but the Mexicans doing it really, really good. While I live in Atlanta, here I am struggling with my sister. I'm paying all the bills and everything, and I'm trying to make sure that she makes it through school. You know, this was back in the day. And the neighbors downstairs, I'm staying in a 2-bedroom, a room for me and a one for her, because that's how we do it. The Mexicans downstairs, it's 12 of them in a 2-bedroom. Mm-hmm. And one day you see them cutting the grass with the lawnmower, and day 2, now 2 of them cutting the grass, and one of them have a driving lawnmower. And by week 3, another one pulls up with a truck and a trailer, and they just keep investing. Why are we not investing in developing communities a lot more? There's a few places that do that, but if we start purchasing land, that ownership gives us equity. That ownership gives us the right to vote. That ownership says these people from this town right here have a voice. We can't shoot them because there's going to be an uproar. They actually give a shit. They bought this land. You know what I'm saying? So it's just something, you know. And you talk about power. There's power in position. There's power in land ownership and the birthright that we are against. These are people, these American people have given away hundreds of acres of lands to each other, and it's grandfathered down. And none of that has came to us. We had to come and use slave sweat and repay for the land that we already been harvesting. You know, so all I'm saying is there has to be a way that we in our little communities grab these youth and teach them about these different ideas about land, equity, worth, and get them positioned correctly.
Okay, before I know Ahmed has something to share, I'm just going to catch up on some. Welcome to Kinte. Thanks so much for dropping by. Xanadu makes a very interesting take, as always, with when you had mentioned Mexicans Junior. She said they know how to stack and save. They unify.
True.
Both so social. We are too busy trying to outshine the next person. And team event, Leon saying, but we don't know about land. So Ahmed, jump on in.
Junior, respect here. I want to say that when you look at the historical data, again, of a property, and you see how it changed hands, sometimes the historical data is available all the way back to the Louisiana Purchase, depending on how long the property has been around. So when I look at a property from the 1920s and I see that this particular individual has transferred the rights of the property, meaning signed the deed over, from this person to this person, a light bulb goes off in my head. And then I start looking at documentation as it relates to what was provided when the property was purchased. And I say, this guy transferred the rights of the property to his son. And the transfer price was $0. Mm-hmm. And I start to follow that track all the way up into the 1970s. And I see where this person transferred it to this person, to this person, to this person for $0. Mm. So if in our minds, we're thinking, buy a house, have it, live in it for 30 years, and then we die, and that's just the end of existence. Whereas other cultures are thinking, so understand this. Okay, Junior, stay with me. If a person purchases a property, most of the time they purchase two things. They purchase financing and they purchase the property. Now, when we say purchase financing, the other word for that is we get a loan. But in reality, we're purchasing financing. The bank is winning when we get a loan, because by the time we pay that loan back with principal and interest, that loan is 3 times the amount when we finally pay it back. So the bank is getting something when we get a loan from them. Now, the loan is in my name. The property is in my name. They're two different things. So I can give the property to Junior and the loan stays in my name.
So
Did you catch that?
In that case, doesn't the bank basically have a lien on the property according to how much you owe in the loan? Is that accurate?
That's accurate. But I may not live long enough to pay that off.
Which then means that the land is owned by the bank at the end of the day.
At the end of the day. Whereas when I put that deed in Will's name, Will, if something happens to me, the only thing you need to do is continue to make the payments. Mm-hmm. You don't have to go and purchase more financing.
Because you already did that, yeah. Okay.
I already did that. And then what I do is I set up a will no pun intended. I set up a will so that it says if something happens to me, that the property is to change hands to Will. Although I've already done that with Will. I've already signed the deed over, and that's kept in Will's safe. I also create a will that says once that happens, once something happens to me, this is supposed to pass to Will. And that now, legal disclaimer, I'm not a lawyer and I don't play one on TV. So please, check with your local attorney. But what happens is that keeps the deal out of probate court.
Yes. Yep. Yep.
So now it can just transfer to Will.
So
Now, just want to interrupt here. That is the last 5 minutes that you've shared. That's knowledge bomb material. That's knowledge bomb material. And one of the regulars, I do a Sunday night show, a Sunday Night Live podcast. And one of the things that he says on the regulars is that Black people need to die with a will, not a bill. Continue.
So what you're saying is this thing, this land stays with the family as long as, okay, let's say Ahmad is Daddy Ahmad, right? Big Daddy Ahmad, and then young C. Will Jr. So now C. Will Jr. now has everything in his name. All he has to do is continue making the payments, and that stays with him.
Yes.
And nothing changes. I mean, as long as you have it in the will and everything is there.
And that's really good, especially if I don't have good credit or something, right?
Correct.
So I don't
Track
have
it.
to apply for financing and all that other stuff because he's already been approved. It goes straight to my name, and I just continue making those payments.
And now the bank, so just so we know that there are laws, the bank can say if we find out that Ahmed has transferred the deed, then we can call the loan due, meaning the bank can say we want all of our money. But I am telling you, I'm not saying it's impossible, but I'm telling you that the bank doesn't want to do that because the bank still wants to continue to get the payments over time, because when you pay that back, how much have you paid back?
More
3 times the amount.
And not only that, but then when they give out loans like that and those loans stay current, when you talk about the Fed side, they can give more loans and they have access to more money when they have more good standing loans on the Fed.
That's called fractional banking. Yes.
There you go. Thank you.
They lend out more money than what they actually have access to.
Exactly.
And I wanted to throw this idea out there because it helps me understand this. I think Garcia made a really, really good point. Is we don't really know money. Like we don't really understand in our communities. We really don't understand money. And it's so funny because we talk about it and we glorify it so much, right? I get money and I'm all about my money, about my paper, about, all this, but we really don't understand how it works. And one thing that helped me to understand it is basically a loan is you're buying money, right? So if you think about it like any other business, the business goes and gets the product cheaper than what you pay for it. Like if you go into a grocery store, everything in there, they paid less for it. So it's the same thing with money. If the bank is giving you you're buying money from them, right? Because you don't have it right now. So you're going to give me $1,000 and I'm going to pay you, $1,500 for that $1,000. So you're basically buying money from the bank that you pay more than what they pay for it. So that was an easy way for me to start to understand how this loan and equity and interest, how all that works, and basically that's, a simple way to kind of start to think about it.
So I want to go to part 2 to Junior's point. He started talking about land. And what I will say about land is this. The bank is giving away land. If there's no property on it or they can't get income from it, they are looking to liquidate it as quickly as possible.
You're going to have to prove that.
That's easy.
because they can't be giving it away and I starving for a piece of land and me get none. So
Tell us more. Tell us more about
right. We have the Jedi on
develop
Vlad
this
right
thought
now.
for
You
us.
are the Jedi.
How was the
master.
bank?
See, the bank is in the lending money business. They're not in the real estate business.
Right.
So understand that the bank is about money, not real estate. So if Will has a piece of farmland and something happens to Will, God forbid, and that land is now not producing any income and it's just sitting, or the crops isn't growing or whatever, if there's no structure on the property where someone can be living and making payments, the bank is holding a piece of land that it doesn't want or it can't do anything with. I'm telling you that in the business that I am in, that land is given away all the time. All the time.
Okay, Ahmad, how do I go about getting a piece of land? What's the most effective way that I could find a piece of land that I can afford and that the bank is practically giving away?
I think the easiest and most effective way is for us to have a private conversation.
That's what I was gonna say. That's what I was gonna say. You got it. You got it. Because if you want to get the access, you go to the people who have the access, and he's one of 3 of color. He's saying in the U.S. So
Like
I just,
Leon sliding in the DMs, man. Leon sliding in the DMs. You messed it up for us, Leon. He was gonna drop it. He's like, you gotta pay him.
but okay, so Ahmed, I want to ask a conversation piece. How challenging is it now for, and we'll use Black Americans because you have an experience in Black America, because the economics always have to play a factor into this. And we've heard comparisons to other communities who find a way of doing it. Is economics still as big a challenge as it has been in the last few years, or is it other factors that you feel are holding Blacks back when it comes to the area of housing?
I think that we are bombarded with nonsense strategically. I think that just like the predatory lending was a war waged against us, I think that there are also propaganda wars that are waged against us to keep us in a state of disunity, confusion, being the least, the last, the leftover, and the left out. I think that all of that is a factor in the economics being a challenge. Because if I have something and I say, I have access to this and I'm willing to share it, to help, there's a program. Okay, let's talk about it specifically. So there's a program, if anyone has ever heard of the Hardest Hit Fund, put a 1 in the window, please.
I'm looking forward to this.
Okay. So the government has just given $2 billion to the Hardest Hit Fund. Now, there's been, since 2008, other billions and billions and billions and billions of dollars given to the Hardest Hit Fund. So the government, once the 2008 debacle happened, the government started looking at key areas that were affected the most by the meltdown. Here's why. So with the meltdown, the governments had to bail out the banks. Well, who pays for that bailout? The citizens pay for the bailout and tax dollars. So the government decided, well, how can we not look like outright criminals? How can we give some back? So they created a fund where mortgage lenders can look at key areas and inform the homeowners that there's money available in the hardest hit fund, and we can apply for you, or you can apply, and that money will come and pay off your defaulted debt. But most of the time, instead of looking at that type of research, we want to know what Jay-Z and Beyonce are doing. I ain't got nothing against J and B. I'm just saying that's where our attention is. We want to know what's going on the BET Awards. We want to know what boxer is going to win the match. We want to know what NBA team is going to win. That's our focus. And because we keep being bombarded by so much of that nonsense, we're not thinking about unifying, because Will like Cleveland. And I'm against Will for that. So I don't even want to go talk to him about anything. So all of that type of stuff is used very subtly to keep us off the mark.
Excellent. Will, Junior?
I don't like Cleveland, Ahmed. You know, I don't even watch basketball, man. Why do you like that? Let me stop. No, I think you're dead on, and you know that's just a huge piece of information right there. I just Googled it, and there's something else I kind of wanted to think about in this conversation. So in Boston, I did a lot of community development. I was on the board of one of the most successful nonprofit community development corporations, and also worked in tangent with one of the most successful for-profit, which is a very precarious situation to be in, right? But it also lended me access to a lot of tables of power, so to speak. And one thing that jumps out, I don't know if you already talked about it yet, is gentrification, right? And in the way of actually systematically like pushing low income or minority groups, pushing them around basically. And what I learned is a lot of it is racial, but a lot of it is economic as well, right? And I think that's why the ownership piece is so important. But I think we need to have an understanding for how things work. A lot of times I did some workshops on gentrification in a community that was actively being gentrified or targeted for development, right? And so it's like, okay, I'm a community organizer. I'm working for these corporations. I'm working for the city or with the city. And there's tons of money getting dumped into this community to develop property. It happens to be a majority African-American community, right? But it's close to downtown, right? It has a lot of access on the subways and the trains. And so it's very attractive. There's a university right there. And what had happened was, and I think this is true in most major cities, is when African Americans started buying homes in this area, the banks redlined it basically. They drew a little red line around it and said, okay, these are where the poor Black people are going. And so we'll let you guys have that, right? And however, not anywhere else. You can't buy, we're not going to loan to you anywhere else. And so a lot of African Americans own homes. And then as the cities transitioned, because this was when sprawl was happening, everybody was moving out. And they wanted that suburban life that they showed on the TV. Everyone's got their house, their dog, and everything. But now cities are becoming more attractive, and so people are developing cities again, and the rich white people or rich people want to get back in the cities, right? And so what are they going to do? They're going to take it, right? Because it's like we need and it's very systematic how they do it, right? They will, and a lot of it has to do with the fact that you don't own it, right? And there's no rent control. So in other words, if you've been living in this place for even 15 years, and you've been paying, $500 a month, the landlord, he gets to notice, like you said, behind the scenes, hey, development is coming, right? So if you want to be able to sell your land or you turn this into a condo that's making $1,000 or $1,500 a month rent, you got to get these $500 rent people out of here. So next thing you know, the rent is going to be $1,000 a month, and they're like, well, I can't afford that, and he's like, well, too bad. It's business. It's economics for him, right? And so that pushes those people out. This all just happened in Brooklyn and in New York and everything. It's starting to happen again in Boston and Chicago and other places, right? And so those people now can't afford it. And the real heartbreaking piece of it is some people who own their homes can't afford it either, because now the property taxes are going up, right? And so these are retired people. They're on fixed income. They spent their life. They bought the property, and now all of a sudden the property taxes are beyond what they can afford, and so they're getting pushed out as well. So that's the idea of gentrification I want you to kind of bring into.
I'm glad you brought that up, because I don't think any conversation on this topic would be meaningful if that was not shared. So that's very important that it's shared. Let me ask Ahmed, and maybe I should have asked this earlier on in our conversation. Why is home ownership important for Blacks, in your opinion?
Well, it gives you a foothold in on that land. It gives you a stakehold on that spot, and it doesn't matter whether it's a row home or a huge piece of land. It gives you a foothold, and I think the more of us that have a foothold, it allows us to control things generationally. It gives a sense of ownership and pride generationally. So if we never own, if the home is never owned, if I didn't see my mother and father working hard to keep the property, keep the grass cut, keep the property up, when I take it over, then it's just a matter of, well, this isn't mine. This belongs to some invisible person.
Mm-hmm.
Then if the window gets broken, just put some tape over it. If the carpet has been in here 4 generations, so what? This isn't mine. So the home ownership, it gives us a sense of pride, and also allows us to develop, because we're able to generationally pass something down. And now Junior or C. Will isn't looking to have to come up with another, $100,000, because they want to live in the house that grandma and mom have taken care of and passed down to him.
And I wanted to add to that in my work in working with in community organizing, the majority of people that are involved are owners, and it has a lot to do with that, like that sense of ownership, that this is mine and it's not temporary. Because if you're renting, there's a lot of public housing and different apartments. You're temporary, like you're coming and going. So if it gets too bad, I'll just leave, right? But however, if I own a home here, I'm a whole lot less likely to have that mindset where, oh, it's not really my problem, right? No, we need to clean up this neighborhood because this is my neighborhood. Like, I own land here, right? And so that has a big impact on actually the quality of life. The crime and all that different stuff is the people who own the homes are, the majority of them are the ones that are active in that. And I think it makes a big difference when you're looking at all the other problems that we deal with. I think a lot of them stem from that not caring about the environment, right? It's like, well, it's not mine. I don't own it. What I'm saying? They can kick me out. We keep getting kicked out and all this different stuff, whenever they feel like it. So it's like whatever, we don't have that sense, like you said, of ownership and pride to represent it.
Ownership is a big deal, and let me just piggyback a little bit off. He said, watch this. Living in the Virgin Islands. Imagine in the year 1970 buying a piece of land on St. John that worth $20,000 at that time. Right now, it probably costs about $2 million. That same piece of land, and it's just because of the tourism. And now we have some of the best beaches in the world. It's on TV. Now I used to work at Bureau of Information Technology, and now imagine us coming to you on your piece of land saying, "Hey, listen, you have two options. Either we're going to utilize eminent domain and kick you off of this land and buy your land from you, which of course is $2 million, what it is worth now, because we have to buy it at the value,
right.
Or we can pay you $10,000 a month so we could put this antenna up in your backyard. You only got a half an acre of land. We have to pay you $10,000 every month just for our antenna. And guess what? AT&T is going to want to put something up on our antenna also. They're going to want to put up a dish. So they're going to have to pay you. And then Sprint is going to have to pay you. And all these different companies are going to have to pay you just because you bought a little piece of land back in the day, back in the bushes. You wasn't even maintaining it. You're just an owner.
Or your mom or grandmom or granddad purchased it, and now they passed it down to you, and now you have a source of income. That, see, the thing that I really need is I need your brain. I need your brain power, and I need you to be thinking clearly so that you can help me. If you're not thinking clearly, you can't help me. So I need you to be financially stable so you can think clearly. And this is the issue that we suffer from, because we are so caught up into trying to just survive that we can't use our brain power to think clearly, to come together, to unify, So Junior, you got, let's say $50,000 being shelled to you every month. And I'm saying to you, there's a piece of land that I have access to here in Miami. This is just an example. Here in Miami, they only want $10,000 for it. Can you finance me for that piece of land? Because I can't get financing from the bank for it. You can hold the mortgage on it until I pay you off. That's what I'm saying we need to be doing, but we're so inundated with foolishness.
And somebody mentioned it in the comments earlier. We're too busy trying to outshine each other, right? Instead of actually working together and building some kind of wealth. And it made me go back to the idea of the Mexicans, right? Where they'll come together. And even when you were talking, I was thinking, well, they seem to be in survival mode too, but they have a strategy, right? They come here and they hit the ground running, right? And next thing you know, they're owning a shop. Well, not just Mexicans, immigrants or different people, right? They'll come together, they'll live together, they'll pool their money and their resources, they'll buy something, they'll buy a property, and they'll continue to develop. So I think a lot of it comes first, we got to stop competing with each other. And then we got to sit down and actually have a strategy session, like with our family. I suggested this a while ago, and I think the guy did it. Like he talked to his family and he said, hey, if we just put together, we all have jobs and we all rent apartments, right? And why don't we just save $50 a week, right? If 7 of us save $50 a week until we get the $10,000 down payment, right? And continue paying on that until we own it. So now we have a property, our family owns some property, right? We can rent it out, we can have residual income and equity that we can borrow against to buy the next home, right? So it's like, come together with a group, this is group economics, right? And so you start with a family, you start with your family if you can, or a team of people that you can trust and build, I think that's so important. that we start to do that, you know, and if you have a family, that's a good way to start.
You know who does it well? Immigrants. Anybody that immigrated to America, they really, really start to do that well. Like one time I was riding down the road and this partner been in jail, and he said, "Hey, homeboy, let me hold some money, man. You know, I just got out of prison. Here go my records." And I thought to myself, man, listen, you know, I never seen a Chinese homeless person in America. You know, and I was like, man, I never even seen a Jamaican homeless person. I never even seen a Russian homeless person. And they're not from, or he said, I don't know where you been, man. You need to get off that corner, Leon. You need a new friend.
Now, Leon, remember, Leon is in England.
Man, England don't count, man. But, you know, a lot of times you have those people that migrate to America, and they really hit the ground running because they are humble and they're willing to say, hey, let's patch up these pennies to make $1, you know. But a lot of times in America, you know, it's all about, like you said, keeping up with the Benjamins, or keeping your eyes not on the prize, but, you know, many broke people over there in England. I could imagine. But it's just in America, there's so many ways to get off of the street, you know, in America. You could be homeless and still be fed and be sheltered. You know what I'm saying? If let's say you are a foster child and you grow up into the system for the rest of your life, the American system will pay you, you know, they will cut you a check. If you're Native American, you get a check. If you're disabled, you get a check. If you're autistic, you get a check. If you have a child that has problems, you get a check. So America really tries to take care of its people in so many different ways, but we still have a homelessness problem. But again, it's not with the brand new immigrants that came over, even though they come over with a lot less.
Okay, before we go on, I'm going to update with some comments, but I just pulled up a very interesting survey that was research, and this is the sources from the U.S. Census Bureau as of March 1st, 2016. 62%, this is, I guess, 62% of Americans own their own home. 26.3% of Americans own it free and clear. Home ownership by race in America: white, 75.8%, Asian, 60.3%, Hispanic, 48.4%, African American, 46.2%. Now, just some update comments. Dan says, some of the immigrants think we are stupid and rip us off. The store owners and hotel owners, they switch owners and hide. Fofo Social says they have fun. Let me just say, they have funds available to them when they come over also. That is true. A lot of people that come over to Canada and America don't think they're not well off. They got money going on.
And I think what she's saying also is that there's actually grants and stuff available to them for them to start their businesses. But the truth of it is, we have those available to us too. They may not be the same grants, like they may be for immigrants or whatever, but we have a lot of grants available as well. Of course, you know, from the SBA. I know in a lot of cities they have if you get your business plan through this, you know, approval process, you're guaranteed a loan from a bank, you know. So it's like we have a lot of things available to us that we're not taking advantage of as well. But I wanted to come back to the idea of gentrification. So I kind of put the problem out there, and I would say, okay, what is the solution, right? You know, how do we fix this? Now the truth of the matter is, you know, the current of economics is what it is. Like, this has been happening for centuries, as far as the gentrification and the values of land kind of fluctuating and the rich taking advantage of it. However, it goes back to the idea I was talking about, ownership of where you're at, right? And getting involved. So there's two solutions. One is economic development. In my view, there's plenty of solutions out there, but one is economic development and getting in the position of ownership yourself, or, you know, as a group. You know, there's trust. You can have a land trust. There's different models where you can actually start to own some of the land. And then it's being involved, right? Because the thing about development in most cities, it's a process and this approval process that goes on, and they have meetings. They have where they have to get they have to tell the community what's going on, and they have to get feedback, and they have to kind of respond to it. And a lot of times nobody shows up for those meetings. They don't know that they're happening. No one shows up to them. You can come, and this was part of my job in Boston, was get people from the community there. So it's not like you can come in, because what happens is there's a bid on the land, right? And so 4 or 5 different development corporations will come and present what they intend to do with their land if they buy it. Now, the people in the community can critique what they're going to do. And so if you want to come in and build, 50 luxury condos and 2 affordable, affordable housing condos, and that is usually is the requirement that a small percentage of them have affordable housing. And if that's not acceptable to the community, you can make demands, right? Reasonable demands. Well, why don't you build a community center, or why don't you improve, build a park, or why don't you do this or that to actually improve our community? So there's so many things that you can do if you actually come to these meetings and share your voice.
Okay, we've got Leon Henry. Leon, we've got you audio
yeah,
only.
I just came up with no video because I'm in the background pushing some buttons. Again, obviously, great epic topic, and I think I've got some feedback. It's probably me.
No, you're good now.
It's probably me moving around. Yeah,
you're good.
I've got my mic all over the place. Yeah, I think. Wow. My take on it, obviously, one, yeah, even for the grants and things like that, I mean, you've got to understand where other people have come from. They struggle differently from when they actually come into the countries if they want housing. And if we dig deep into it, probably Armin, you can probably shed some light more into it when we have so-called immigrants. What is an objective for the immigrants to come to a country? Like we've just had for Britex, like right now, we had a lot of immigrants that help build the country. And immigrants are so powerful. If you think about how a lot of people have come to each particular country and help build the country to where it is today. And we're always saying that. So we've got to house these people in a way that they are comfortable and they can actually keep working and building the country. So this is why they do these little things. All right. So again, they'll build all the houses, even if they have to sell them off and they can give us the 2 acres of the mule, whatever it may be. But, they have given us ways to buy this land. They're trying to develop that in some way. That's much being crazy. So now, when we say we don't have this, we've got to understand, all right, who's stopping us from this? Yeah. And collectively, you still can get those properties. And again, way back when there was a problem where they said to us, okay, look, you can't be here. Take us off in the UK. We had, okay, no Irish, no blacks, no cats, no dogs. Our people got together and said, you know what? Hey, we'll get a house and we'll, bring the people that need housing. So there's always a way to get housing. And if you want that, you know what you got to do. Yeah, get the people in the day collectively get together and drive and buy that property. Now, for land, I can certainly speak for some of the Caribbeans, the early adopters, they owned a lot of land. All right. And guess what? I can speak in real time here. Some of my parents, and then they rent the land to, they call it a box site from the mining companies. And it's for a period of time. This is a huge mining company. They wanted to dig a road between their house. They said, you know what? We're going to rent you the road for a period of time. And you have to give us this back. You have to fix it back as it is, new, whatever it may be, if you want to, go through the situation. So you've got a lot of power once you start to understand, if you want these people to build on your land, whatever it may be, dig it up, whatever it may be. So this is quite important. I don't know the difference between the owning the land versus the property on it, which is more. Yeah, I mean, I know you may have more bills, but again, the land obviously, guess what? It has some sort of it. But again, I mean, you're experts in that area. I don't know, but I think, guys, seeking on the question that said, what do you want in housing? Some people do want fair housing. Some people want a mansion. I don't know, but some people want a roof over their head. But going back to your, as we always say the other day, let's be clear on what you want, because it does differ for a lot of people. Yeah, some people want a house that, or yeah, if they want to rent. Yeah, some people even want to be on the housing property. But I guess, first of all, if you just start to play in this sandpit, you've got to have certain, you've got to have your mindset, because some certain places right now, you can't even be in that gated community, because you just mess it up. You don't know, you've got to be in there. You've got to come in, can't come with your attitude. If you want that lifestyle, you got to live it. So before you talk about a house, just get that mindset. That's my thought in the day. I'm going to jump out. I'm just in the background doing a few things.
Thank you, Leon.
Thanks, Leon. Thanks for adding positive value to the conversation. Just want to add on here, Xanadu. I'm just listening and learning. I can say that I am from a family that owns nothing. There are many in my family who do well for themselves, but they have definitely not taught the younger generations how to invest in property. I think that's a common thing in many families of color.
Well, I was going to ask, so Xanadu, how do you think we can solve that? How can we start to educate our people on actually how to understand money and how to get into home ownership? And so that's my question here.
You're reading my mind, because I wanted to start winding down the conversation a bit and have Ahmed give some solutions, and also the audience what are some solutions. But Ahmed, I'll pass the baton to you. What do you think are some of the possible, what are some of the action steps, not remedies? What are some of the action steps?
Let me just tell a quick story. When I was in high school, in 10th grade, I told my dad that I wanted to run for senior class president. I said, but some of these people that I'm running against, they've been campaigning for a long time. I said, I only have about a week or two before elections to prepare. I don't think it's enough time. And he said, do you really want to win? And I said, of course. So he said, what I want you to do is I want you to write your speech, and I want you to include these things in your speech. And he said, you're going to win. So I delivered the speech, and I won by like a landslide. So when I asked him later, I said, what was it that did it? And he said, I want you to always remember two things. He said that in this world, there is exoteric knowledge and esoteric knowledge. He said exoteric knowledge is common knowledge that people know. He said esoteric knowledge is secret knowledge. He said the thing that I did for your speech is I put in words and phrases that were delivered by other presidents and other prominent politicians that won them the office that they, he said, and I just dropped those things in your speech. And I figured that if someone can use this to win the presidency of the United States, that surely you can win the presidency of your high school with this. So some of the knowledge that we're looking to obtain, I'm not saying it won't work, but that conventional exoteric knowledge, it takes a long time, and you got to go through filing this and filing that, and you got to go through this approval and that approval, and you got to jump through the hoops. And a lot of it, when it comes to housing and land ownership and investments and things like that, I'm saying, we can just take the shortcut and go this way and it's done. But like Leon said, you got to have the right mindset. If you don't have the right mindset, I can't fix the right mindset. If you got the right mindset, then all that you're trying to get, you can have. And that's just not like, The Secret or positive thinking or affirmations. And I do believe in that, but I'm saying, no, there's secret knowledge that you can apply in your life that can take you from this point to this point. There is a method to it. Follow the steps and it works.
Excellent. Other comments from Xanadu? Well, actually, let's go further back here. We've got Xanadu saying we need to transform the way kids are educated and spend it with people we can trust. Team event. Xanadu says we have to stop depending on the system to educate us. Also, she says our parents think that going to a few parent-teacher meetings should be the extent of our involvements with kids in education. We will certainly be talking the next few weeks about education, about what do Blacks want and why. And I'll just tell you already, the gentleman that was on last week, Dr. Marvin Thompson, will be on the 19th of next month, giving a full hour and a half about what do Blacks want and what. No, he's just talking about the state of education in America. So mark that down. That is going to be outstanding. For those who caught him last week, he made me bring up my microphone and drop it a few times. Just let me put it that way. Also, Dan is saying, offer financial literacy classes at local centers. Have speakers go to the schools. Debt collection agency owners are great teachers and are more than willing to share their knowledge. Those are all good suggestions. I also think too, parents or elders, be open enough and talk about your financial challenges with the younger people.
I think we have a bad culture type of money. We don't talk about money. It's not polite, right? And then we're all ignorant about how money works. I wanted to add to Dan's suggestion. I think that's a great idea. My thinking is to make it attractive. When you say financial literacy, it sounds like, But if you can message it in a way that will actually be attractive, get your money up, learn, if you're about your paper, this is for you. It's like I'm talking about the marketing material. I'm not saying the classes are. I think the classes they should stay the same, but actually the marketing materials need to be targeted to our generation to actually make it attractive. And then, my thinking is also target, do target marketing, target market those who, make money. It's not that hard to get these lists, right, of people who actually are in this group and target them, African-Americans who are making money, maybe paying rent, and say, okay, let's target them and get them in here and teach them a couple things. But anyway, with that, I'm going to jump off. This has been a great conversation. I think, Ahmed, you're a wealth of knowledge. I'm definitely going to be looking to tap into some of that esoteric knowledge. So I'm going to be reaching out to you sooner than later.
See, Will, again, thanks for making the conversation better.
Dr. Vibe, one thing I want to add is what we as Blacks have been taught to think is we think I can only move, I can only prosper with what I have in my pocket. I don't have any money, so how can I go buy this 500 acres of land? And then we turn our minds off to the possibility, not really understanding that we have one of the greatest tools probably in the history of mankind. And that's called the internet. There are people all over the internet that are looking to invest money in deals. There are people all over the internet looking to lend money. People that lend money, and I did this on another blab, I gave a system of how to find out who is lending money and where they're lending the money. and there are lists available. All of this information is a matter of public record. Whatever your zip code or your area is, you can find out the last 500 people in the last 30 days that lent money in your zip code for property. So those people that lent money on a property in your zip code, if they lent to this person, they will lend to you if the deal is attractive enough. So you may not need to go to a bank or financial institution to get the loan. There are people that will, we call it joint venture. They will joint venture partnership with you. You bring the intellectual property to the transaction, and they bring the capital to the transaction.
Nice. And actually, Corey's jumping in. And one of the things I wanted to just, before I let Corey come in on the conversation that Will mentioned about targeting, we all know in certain neighborhoods, there's certain sort of financial organizations that put themselves in certain neighborhoods. They target those neighborhoods. So why don't we start targeting investment? Just a thought.
Yes.
What's up, Dr. Vibe?
Everything's up. What's up with you, sir?
I'm just staying busy, baby. Just staying busy.
Well, I don't like busy. I like positive, productive, because I know too many busy people that are sleeping.
Well, I can go with that. I can go with that.
What do you have to share, my man?
Well, I just want to say, when it comes to a lot of information that was given tonight, I'm one of the coaches that teach on Educate. I'm a certified grant writer. So in my community, I do that. I teach them how to, because it's great. As I just did my last blab, maybe under an hour ago, I was talking about we all have great suggestions, great solutions to save the world. Those are great things. But how many of us are putting that in motion? You know, I always say talk is cheap, actions speak louder than words. Don't talk about it, be about it. So in my community, when I get up in the morning, my mindset is who can I encourage today? Who can I educate? And not how much money can I make from them per se, because most of my trainings are free. I've been blessed to collaborate with some of the CDC centers here, which is the community development centers in my area in Orlando, and some of the commissioner boards in the district attorney's office. I have partnership with a lot of them to sit down and educate SBA. They actually hold 80% of the money that Walmart and these big boys are creating. The reason why they're so big, because those small SBAs are making them who they don't have no money. Walmart and those big boys. So I'm more of a action guy. So just to kind of piggyback off of my man right here just got done talking. Yeah, that's what I do. I'm a grant writer. So I teach them how to grant. I have a guy that I hire, pay $24,000 a year, and he goes out and he's my analyzer. He looks at the market, see what the government put in new, whether new grants and how they affect our community, whether it be beneficial or non-beneficial. Grant that you have to pay back and grants you don't have to pay back. Grants that will help small women. There's over $60 billion right now in grants for women. They don't even know it. And they're out spending money getting loans. You don't need that. Learn how to write a grant.
You know what?
But again, we don't educate that.
Okay, so what we need you to do, because you're an action guy, is whenever you get the opportunity to come on, or you can email me, let me share that knowledge, because it's very
Absolutely.
Share that knowledge. Like tonight, one of the things that Ahmed dropped was about this. I can't remember the name of the organization.
Hardest
Ahmed.
Hit Fund.
Hardest Hit Fund.
Yeah, I've heard of them.
But no one in the conversation, maybe one person had heard about them before. The amount of knowledge you have about grant writing is a very powerful thing. And the reason why a lot of people don't get grants is they don't know about the grants.
Exactly.
And I'm one of those people. Up until a few weeks ago, I did not know that the Canadian government, because I live in Canada, is giving out money for grants. Buddy of mine showed me, and
Yep.
to the point they help you write the grant. So we need you. So I need to hear about you. I want to hear you share your message. So you can either email me or you can DM me. Give me a list. Enough things on my back, but just a list of resources where people can come out and say, if you're needing help with a grant or these are the grants available. And you may want to say, okay, I may be able to help you. There may be a little bit of a charge, but I look at it as an investment, not an expense.
Correct.
Right? Because you're getting them closer to where they need to get.
Correct.
So,
and I'm glad you said that, Doc. Because now I do that all the time. I think C Will's on here. There's a couple that follow me. Leon, they've been on a lot of my shows that I talk about and educate on these topics on my blab. So if you want to, you guys are more than welcome to follow me. And,
okay, so
check out some.
I'm going to put it out there. I want you to come on one of my blabs and talk about this subject. Are you up to it?
Absolutely.
Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to start following you on Twitter. Get in touch with me, and I want to have you on one of the conversations talking about grant writing. Is that fair?
That's fine.
I'm following you on Twitter. It's back in your lap.
Yeah, you are my phone's
All
laughing.
right, there you go. Yes, Vin. I'm going to call you Vincent. All right, but that's the reason why. One of the major reasons I'm doing why, so people can get educated and know that out there. You know.
Yeah.
The more you know, the more you need to know.
Absolutely.
Right, and I got Brian coming on too now. Oh, Brian was coming on. I don't know what happened to him. Oh, let me see. He's back on now. Okay, Brian. Sorry about that.
Oh, my main man.
Good evening,
What's up,
gentlemen.
Brian?
How are you?
Good evening, Brian.
Hey, what's going on, Brian? How you doing?
You know what? I'm doing great. I did my Wednesday vlog. I got a lot off my chest. I'm doing more stuff here on Blab, and I know it's going to take off. So I'm feeling pretty good.
Good. Do you have anything you want to share about our discussion piece tonight? What the Blacks want and why, when it comes to housing, either personal stories or family, friends, or just Blacks in general?
I'm going to say something that is right, but a lot of people are not going to agree with. It goes like this. You got to decide for yourself what you want. And you also have to decide for yourself how you're going to get it. I had to deal with this myself earlier tonight. I was supposed to make a visit to Michigan City today, but I didn't do it for various reasons. And I keep thinking, I want to get a better place, I want to get a better car, and I want to be able to still do my broadcasting and have a better appearance, but I can't if I'm still scared because of what a mechanic told me about my car a problem that I didn't know about. Why am I saying all this? Because not just as Blacks, but as people, let me be more specific. As men, we have to decide what we want and how bad we want it and what we're going to do to get it. End of story. My dad taught me that lesson a long time ago when he said, when you decide what you want, what are you willing to do to go get it? Period. Color's not involved. Race is not involved. Manhood is. You know what's missing in this country? Manhood. Men ready to step up and step out. All the way out. On that little edge we like to call faith. You know, if women are so ballsy to step out on faith and declare that they're stepping out on faith, why don't men do the same thing? You know why men are being emasculated in this? You know why men are being emasculated in large numbers in this world? Because we're letting them do it. Some of us, like us, doing this tonight, and I'm thrilled to be on with you again, some of us need to stand up and say enough. You started with a personal declaration. I made 2 of them this evening. When I did my Wednesday vlog, it was only 2.5 minutes, but in those 2.5 minutes, I've gotten really charged up. I lost the day, but I didn't lose the day because I'm still here working on stuff that I love to do. Secondly, I've also declared that no matter what this mechanic has said to me, I'm going to wipe his words out of my mind. I'm going to get in my car tomorrow after I'm off the air and go see my first client and hang out in Michigan City and just talk to people all day. I'm at a point right now, and men should have gotten to this point a long time ago. Again, take black and white out of the equation. Men should have gotten to this point a long time ago, that we're tired of being second-class citizens. Because if you think about how the 21st century is panning out, that's how we're being painted. Second-class citizens. And that's wrong. In the Bible, we were given dominion, but we've allowed that to be taken from us. And we can't allow it anymore.
Well put. I think that is a great way to close out our conversation tonight. And I'll get Ahmed back, because one of the things that Ahmed was very much foundational on tonight is mindset. So when it comes to blacks and housing, do you have the right mindset? You know, are you in the right mindset? If you are not in the right mindset, find someone who can help you with that mindset. Equip yourselves as much as possible about this important decision. And not only making that decision, but after you've made that decision, and we hope it goes in the right direction, keeping and consistent with that decision and thinking about a home as a legacy, not just a purchase.
And not just a place to lay your head.
Ahmed, I'll let the final words for you.
I think that Brian has made some really good points, and I really appreciate his points and his comments. And it really, in a lot of ways, does come down to manning up and going out and taking the bull by the horns. I do know that that there are some other factors involved, but the base of it is just taking action. If you make a declaration and take that action and say, I'll do it or die, that success is yours. So, if anyone wants to reach me, they can at Twitter, Ahmed Hazel at Twitter. And if anyone wants to email me, they can at ahmed.hazel@gmail.com.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Ahmed, for making the conversation better. I am Dr. Vibe, and before I give my final contact information, I like to appreciate everyone who stayed on for the conversation tonight a lot. There are a number of people been on from the get-go. Fofo Social, Gracie, C. Will, Leon, Corey, thanks for stopping by. Brian, thanks for stopping by. Before I let everyone go, this is a continuing series, so I'm pretty much going to be scheduling it this different what do blacks want and why every week. Does anyone have a particular area they would like discussed next week? Put it in the chat room and I'll certainly consider it. I have a bunch of ones that I've got written down from last week's conversation. Does anyone want a specific area when it comes to what do blacks want and why taking control? What does that mean?
Well, let me answer it verbally. Taking control of your dreams, taking control of what you want, taking control of how you're going to get it, what you're going to do to get it, and more importantly, taking control and keeping it.
Okay. Written down. Anyone else have a topic they'd like to put out there? I've got a number of ones written down, but I always like to get from and all the suggestions come from the audience, not from me. The only time if they come from me is if I get nothing. But even if no one gave anything right now, I've already got a list written down. So if nothing else, you can touch base with me via email, dr.vibe at the drvibeshow.com. I'm also available via Twitter at drvibeshow. As always, Black in Business. Okay. All right. I'll certainly put that one down. You can touch base with me via, I've given the contact information. The website is the drvibeshow.com. I'll put it in the comment section. You can also check me out at the Good Men Project, one of the most viewed sites in the world, where I have the only regular spot for online conversations. Every Tuesday, I put up something new at 2:30 Eastern Time. Also, every Saturday on WJMS Radio, you can catch me at 9 a.m. on a show called Black Men Talking, where there are replays of these conversations. And at the last Saturday of every month at 9 a.m., I do a live conversation called Black Men Talking with Jonathan Shaw from the Toronto area and Henri Morris from Oakland. So that means last Saturday of the month is this Saturday. And it looks like we're going to be talking a mismatch of things, but one of them about the whole Freddie Gray, how 6 officers, none of them are needing to or having to go to jail. And the question is, did Freddie Gray die by himself? So that's coming up. And then tomorrow night, the last Thursday of each month, we do a conversation called the Dr. Vibes Allies. We've been doing that for 3 years, the last Thursday of each month. It's a live podcast. So if you want to listen to it, all you have to do is, if you're on a desktop or a laptop, just go to my website address, the drvibeshow.com, the drvibeshow.com. You can listen to it through laptop or desktop. Just go to my website. It streams live, audio-wise. If you're on a tablet or on a mobile device, you still go to the same site, but go to the bottom of the screen and click to play, and you'll hear it live. But just go to my website. There'll be instructions on how you can listen to it. And the unique thing about that conversation is it's Black men from Canada, the United States, and England live. So it's 3 countries. We've been doing that for 3 years. And I think tomorrow night, it sounds like the gentlemen are really fired up, wanting to talk about Freddie Gray, the conventions that have gone on, et cetera, et cetera. So that's some of the stuff that's going on. Also on Saturday, there'll be a broadcast in Canada. I was interviewed on a ladies' show talking about why Black Lives Matter. Not Black Lives Matter, but why Black Lives Matter. So it may, as soon as I get the broadcast, I'll certainly post it. Those are just some of the things that are coming up. And there's some other things in the works. Let's just put it this way, in the works. So if anyone needs any suggestions, helps, or just want to chat, love to keep in touch with all you as much as I humanly can. Outside of that, I'd like to say you're blessed and highly favored. You're a magnet for miracles, and you're a solution for someone's problem. I am very happy to be a servant for all of you. Because the more you serve, the more you'll receive. And if you want to be a great leader, be a great server. God bless. Peace be well. Keep the faith. And bye-bye.